Hey, it's Joe Crump. Got another one for you. This is from Max Sklauer. Max, this is a really long question, and I'm going to try to answer as much of it as I can, Max, so I apologize if I don't get to all of it, but I'll try to get through it here. I have a problem. First, in finding people who are in distressed positions and who are about to lose their homes. I can subscribe to a list of people in legal situations for a large fee. When I try to contact them, they don't reply or have moved, and once in a while, if I knock on enough doors, I might find them. First of all, don't pay money for these lists. You can get stuff free like this. Basically what this is a pre-foreclosure list. People who are typically 4 months or more behind on their credit. And they're not, you can get them cheaper. You don't have to pay a large fee if you do want them. But I find them to be a pain in the butt to work because, like you say, they're hard to get a hold of. And if you knock on the doors, you might be able to get them to answer the door. But most people, they're in hiding mode. They don't want to talk to you. So the likelihood that these are going to be good leads are pretty small. I wouldn't screw with them. You want to get people who are going to respond to your marketing, or people who are trying to market themselves and sell it, which are for sale by owners. Those are the people that we're going after because they're putting an ad out saying, I'm interested, I want to do this, or they're responding to one of your marketing pieces that say, I want to do this, here's what I'm willing to do, here's what I can do, and then we can make an offer to those folks. That's much, much, much easier to deal with than folks who are hiding in their home, not answering the door, or not responding to any email because everybody is coming down on them right now. They're in frightened mode, and they don't want to talk to anybody, and they don't want to deal with the problem, or they don't feel there's any way they can deal with the problem. Now, I've had students that have been very successful knocking on doors, and if you can get to those people and you can talk to them and you can show them that there are solutions, then great, do that. But I think it takes a lot more work. Go for the low-hanging fruit first. Go for that stuff before you go for this. Then he goes on, I can offer to buy them on a subject to and give them $500 to $1,000 earnest money with 60 days to find a buyer. The problem is the buyers I found, and that's not going to work for those people because they're late on their payments. Typically 4 months is when they file a notice of default, although all the banks are a little bit slow at it these days. So it's not going to work with those, but it might work with some of these others. But his question here is, the problem is the buyers I found, very few even have a decent down payment. Yes, I found some leads that are valid, but most of them have poor credit. Well, those are the people we sell to, first of all. We sell to people with poor credit because they can't go out and get a mortgage. That's why they're interested in buying on a rent-to-buy, whether they're buying lease option or subject to from us. Those are the people that make sense. And you'd be surprised at how many people have down payments. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that don't. But in order to get an apartment, let's say you're in an apartment area where it costs $1,200 to rent an apartment, they're going to need to come up with first month's rent. They're going to need to come up with a deposit just to move into that property. So if they want to move at all, if they're not indigent, if they're not on the street, they're going to have to come up with $2,400 in order to move into a rental property. If they have bad credit on top of that, it makes it more difficult for them to even get into a rental property. But we can get them into lease option properties. As long as they've got income, we don't care about their credit. We want to know that they've got income, that they've got a job, or that they've got money coming in from another source that's reliable. And if they do, then that makes them more qualified for this. So let's say you had somebody came along and they wanted to buy a property that you had tied up, and all they've got is the first month's rent and enough for a deposit, $1,200. Use that $1,200 as a lease option fee and give the $1,200, the first month payment, to the seller, and you made $1,200 for doing virtually nothing. I mean, you're tying up the property and selling it. It's going to take you 2, 3, 4 hours to do all that, which means you're only making, what, $300, $400 an hour? I mean, it's not too bad. So, but the likelihood is that you're going to find people that have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a property like that. And if you're in a higher priced range area, you're going to find people with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for the lease option fee. So don't get too worried about this. There's lots of people out there that have credit issues, that'll be good, solid tenants because they've got good income and good jobs, but they have credit problems. And they want to buy a property. They want to have something nice for their homes. They're good people. And we can get those people into a home. We can solve the problem for the seller who's got a vacancy, who's got monthly payments going out every month, or they're just losing their rent every month, or they can't sell their property, they don't have enough equity, whatever. We can get those people relief. We can get the buyers relief, and we make a chunk of money ourselves by doing it. So we're out there solving problems, making a lot of people happy, and you don't have to And yes, you are right. There are going to be people out there that don't have any money, but one of the marketing techniques that I teach shows you how to make it so that you don't have to talk to those people, so that they're clearly educated before they ever get to you, and they go into a certain follow-up autoresponder if they don't have the money, so that when they do get the money, then they'll be on your list and they'll be able to buy a property at that time. But they'll know why they're on that list, and they'll see it as a value. And they'll appreciate it rather than you just tell them, oh no, you don't qualify. Because when I was in that situation, when my credit got trashed after my business collapsed, I know how humiliating that could be. And I remember going to try to get a car, and the guy treated me like dirt and wouldn't do it. And to this day, I will not buy a car from that dealership. So treat your people right, put them on an autoresponder, put them on a list, and show them the path to home ownership. And they will come back to you, and they will work with you, and they will give you a big hug when it's over. Jim Jarrell coined the phrase, the crying quotient. How many people cry and hug you when you close, buyers and sellers both, because you solve their problem? It makes life a lot easier. The only house I wound up buying myself, I had to do a rent to own after having it on the market for about 3 months. I sold it on a real estate contract, and it's coming due next month and may close. Nice profit there, but a lot of legwork and showing in person trying to sell it. That was 2 years ago. Well, I'd like to know what a lot of legwork is and what a lot of profit is as well. And to think that they're actually going to go out and exercise or pay off that, if it's a balloon payment, to actually pay off that land contract, you might be kidding yourself on that, Max. So they may not qualify. If they didn't qualify then, they probably won't qualify now. So don't get your hopes up that they're going to be able to do that. Instead, work out a way for them to stay. Maybe bump them up in price, maybe charge them a little bit, a lump sum, maybe $500 or $1,000 just to stay in there or extend their land contract. Try to work with them to make that happen. Don't tie up your money in a property like this that you don't know how to sell or you can't sell. When I buy a property with cash, if I'm using cash or a loan, I know what my exit strategy is going to be, and I know how to get there, so that I can always make this happen. What's happened to you here? You've gotten stuck with a property that you didn't necessarily want because you wanted to get that capital back. It sounds like, and you buy another one, and that's not going to work in this market as easily as it did, back before 2007 when loans were still easy to get. These days, I don't sell to end users, I'll sell to investors who have cash because they're easy to work with. And I buy properties that make sense for investors. So that's going to be important too, understanding what type of property you're going to buy so that when you sell it, you have an exit strategy that makes sense. Actually, I'm not in the mood to buy anything else. I had 2 condos rented and got tired of that exercise and finally sold both of them on the real estate contracts. One of these, the buyer lost his job and I almost had to repossess that. It'll balloon next year, as will another one I sold, and it is good and will surely close next year. Boy, you're covering a lot of good stuff here, because it's no fun to be a landlord. I hate it. And I've got people, first of all, my property manager, she loves it. She loves being a property manager. I have property managers in 7 different states, and they enjoy what they're doing. But I hate it. I don't want to be a property manager. It sounds like you're not enjoying it very much either. And what I would suggest is you find somebody to manage these properties for you, whether you sell them on land contract or whether you sell them on lease option or whether you just have them rented. Get somebody who's going to look out for them, and when the problem come about, they send out the maintenance person for you. They take care of it. You just have to make sure that the deal makes sense so that you can afford that person to do that, that extra 10% of the income to cover that cost. So don't manage your own properties. It's not going to be a fun process for you. Most of the rehab properties that I've been buying lately will buy in packages from landlords that are so burned out on this process. I remember going to close and we're buying 7 properties from this guy, and I said to him, well, you say you'd had them for 20 years. I said, at least they've been good to you over the years. They got you income. And he said to me, no, not really. He hated it. He despised what he was doing, and he felt tied into him and locked into him because he didn't set it up right. And we went in, and we're going to make some really good money on those deals because we are doing it right. And and I wasn't trying to screw him out of his equity. He let those properties go downhill. He didn't take care of them. He didn't maintain them. They were slums. By the time I got them, they needed a lot of work. And we went in, we fixed them up, we made them nice places to live because I have the capital to do that. That's why I'm doing it this way. And I don't suggest, if you don't have the capital, that you do it that way in this situation. Next, that's all I'm going to cover on this for now. Maybe you can send another email with more questions later. But thanks a lot.